Hey guys, thanks for joining today. Hey there, thanks for joining today. We're continuing our drawing on LuxArchival paper, and we're demonstrating this particular portrait of this young girl, and we're getting close to being done with certain portions of it, which is exciting. So glad you're here today. Thanks for joining, and if you have any questions or comments while we're going through this, as always, you can type those into the live chat there, either on wherever you're watching. So whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, or you're watching on Twitter. Okay, just looking at some structural things here in the eyes, and I want to readdress a couple of things just to get some of this looking uniform. So with both of the eyes, if you don't keep going back to certain features, then sometimes you can sort of lose the symmetry of the face, and it can be challenging to if you keep drawing in one spot and not looking back at areas and readdressing things, then it can be challenging to go back after you're all done. Sometimes you can say that to yourself, like, oh, I'll worry about that later. I'll go back later and worry about that. And if you do that too much, then you'll get to this spot where you can't do anything about it because you've waited too long. So I don't want to do that. Let me zoom in here just a little bit. Focus on what we're doing here. Okay. So I want to pay attention to a lot of the angles, and then I want to come back in there and with my lighter colors and reposition some of those things. Hey, Sergio, man. Thanks for joining. No, these aren't. Well, they're not new. They were new maybe 6-8 months ago, something like that. I'm probably closer to the camera today, so you might be able to see them easier. I'm not sure. But, yeah, these are... I'm getting used to wearing glasses. It's not something that, I grew up doing, so it's a newer thing for me to get used to using glasses and wearing glasses. And these have that transitional lens for seeing up close, and I am not used to that. So I don't know. I don't usually get a whole lot of sympathy from people that have worn glasses all their life. They're like, yeah, I know. I went through that at 12, things like that. I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess that's right. I guess I was pretty fortunate not to have any kind of issues with sight until, late 40s. So I guess in that regard, I'm pretty fortunate, really. All right. Got to look at those eyes. And this one needs to be Needs to come out just a little bit more over here. It's a little more flat. Ah, yeah. It's a good point, Sergi, man, over there on YouTube Live. So if you're watching on Facebook, you might be thinking, who's he talking to? He's over there on YouTube. And, yeah. So you're saying that after you've worn them for about 10 years, you get used to it and enjoy it. It's interesting. Maybe that'll happen. I tell you what, it happens is if I'm not wearing them, I really notice it. And it's something that, you know, I started getting used to, and I'm like, wow, okay, I actually need to wear glasses. Just can't see otherwise. But, you know, it used to be that my distance far away was just fine. But now I've got some kind of stigmatism that makes it to where it's a little more challenging to see far away. But that was fine for a long time. And I would hear different people talk about their experience seeing far away and what they thought they were seeing. And I was like, what are you talking about? I can see all the detail and trees far away, you know. You don't see as much detail, obviously, but it's not all blurred out, you know. And then I started understanding a little bit more about it after, you know, just a few years ago. So, okay. Feels like forever since I've worked on this drawing, even though it's just been a week. I don't know how that can happen, though, right? Sometimes. It just feels like a long time. All right, got to look at that sclera and look at it against the references. Move my light up just a little bit so I can see it better. Okay. I'm working on just values, really. I'm thinking just about the values in this area. And I can think about the details a little later and color a little later. Just don't want to lose anything and miss anything with placement of some of these shapes and some of the values within these shapes. That can be easy to lose sometimes if you get too caught up on details. No. So, hopefully we'll be getting done with this very soon. I'm hoping. I left my water way over on the other table. I'm going to grab that real quick. Put my pencils down. So I don't know if you guys have used LuxArchival yet. If you have, let me know. I would love to hear what your experiences are with the paper. But I'm really enjoying it quite a bit. And I don't know. I think that it's the more I use it, the more I enjoy it. And I think it's something that it provides you just with more and more options. So, if you compare it to UArt, and I like UArt as well for different things, but with this, it seems to give me a little more flexibility, although I think rendering can be a little bit longer, and sometimes that's a good thing. With UArt, especially 800 grit, you can get it done very, very quickly. So that's a cool thing about that particular paper. But yeah, Sergio, man, is you're probably asking that because of how long this is taking. And what I'm thinking I will do, and I know I said this probably last week, maybe the week before, is work on it when we're not doing the live stream, and then record that, and then release the final like that. Release me just getting it completed in a pre-recorded video. And probably that is what I will do. I just got to figure out where to fit that in, But okay, I'm gonna start grabbing this wild lavender, using that in a few spots here and there. If you've not listened to the podcast that we just released, that just got released today. So, talk about the Cezanne pencils and the Lyra Rembrandt Polycolor pencils. Very cool. Sergio, man, says he's been working on a male portrait at the same time, so that I've been working on this one. That's very cool. Would love to see that when you get done with it, or when you're ready to share it. You're having a piece of angel's food cake, huh? Very, very cool. All right, let's see here. It really helps me to look at the image up there on the screen. Well, okay, so Sergio Man's asking about the recommendation with the Cezanne pencils. I have a hard time remembering how that's pronounced. So here's the bottom line, I guess, for me, is that they're not a bad option for a new beginner, for somebody starting out and wanting something inexpensive to just start getting some quick wins and learning the medium of colored pencil, because they're inexpensive but they perform really well. So what I'm guessing, and I don't have anything to really go on to really verify this, but I'm guessing that maybe they've cut corners with some of the wood that they use. I don't know. Maybe they've cut corners by not doing Lightfast testing. So I don't know how many times when you're brand new that you create a piece that you're wanting to have Lightfast and then you sell. I mean, it's probably something you're going to do later on instead of right away, right out of the gate when you start. So there's those considerations to think about. And you know, I don't know. I'm not. I just think that you can get away as a new artist, especially to the medium of colored pencil. You can get away with a cheaper brand while you're learning, just because the performance of the pencils is actually quite good. Van Gogh pencils? No, no, I don't think I have those, Sergi man. And they're not making them anymore. So, do you have the Van Gogh pencils? Have you tried them? Yeah, I don't think I. Is that what they're called? Is this Van Gogh pencils? Yeah, I don't think I've tried those though. Okay. These eyebrows are mostly going to be a reflection of the glasses. I mean, that's how we're getting color up there. So I think I will hold off on really putting too much up there for right now. Only because of that, because they look like they're more of a reflection of the glasses. Okay, all right. Let's see. I want to look for little spots here and there that need a little more of this pink. This definitely does, but that's going to be also more of a reflection. So I want to make sure that I don't get carried away right in there. And over here as well. This is all going to be more gray over here anyway, on that side, than it is over here. Yeah, it is looking a little bit maybe too bright right in this area. I don't know. It's going to depend on how much of that I want to show as being a light reflection. Oh. Ah, very interesting, Sergi man. So he has tried them. That's very cool. And so you would put them as comparable with Lightfast ratings to the Caran d'Ache Pablo. That's interesting. And blendability and performance, I'm guessing you're talking about being very close to the Derwent Lightfast. Pretty interesting. Good morning, Peggy, Jesse. How are you? Good to see you out here. Okay, let's come back in here with this color. All right, I need to move along because that's fine. I can move. I can get away from that now. And I think what we'll do is use that brown ochre 10% and buff titanium a little bit. And we're going to push that shadow down just a little bit more over here again. Might be thinking, yeah, you did that last week. Yeah, I didn't do it enough, though. I started looking at it. It's like, that needs to be pushed down even a little bit more. So, hey, we've got David joining over there on YouTube Live under the handle of Devil Dog Art. So, good morning. How are you? Glad to see you over here. Okay. So we've got the brown ochre is going to give us a little bit darker tint right in there. And I mean, it's going to be brighter because of the layers that are already down. But then I'm going to come back over it with this buff titanium, which is a little bit brighter than the brown ochre 10%. You may be looking at that and thinking, well, it's not really doing much. Well, that's the goal. I don't want it to do a lot. I want it to do a little bit. So, if you're interested in watching the video of today's podcast, episode 251, where we talk about the Lyra pencils as compared to the Cezanne pencils, those are put out by Jerry's Artorama, then those are available. The video podcasts and exclusive rough cut versions of the video is available over there in Monthly Sharpener. Yeah, thanks, Sergi, man. Yeah, that's kind of the point here, is to transition from the highlight into the warmth of the shadow. And then there is more of a contrast going on inside the shadow. There's going to be a darker piece, and I think we've about captured that really with what we've got right in there, because I don't want it to compete with some of the edges over here in these features with the cheek, certainly the sides of the face and that kind of thing, and the areas around the eyes. This shadow needs to be more subdued than all of those, even if you disagree with that when you look at the reference and you say, well, no, the reference shows me that that's just as dark as those other areas. I haven't isolated them and tested it and all of that. It may be, but that really doesn't matter. I don't have to do it like that. I don't have to depict it that same way, because logically it makes sense that it could be lighter up here and darker down here, right? Because of the way the light is falling on the face. Carla Adkins is joining over there on Facebook Live. Thanks for joining, Carla. I hope you're doing well. Hope you and Peggy are drawing and staying motivated and painting and doing all the things and not getting overwhelmed with the news. That's what I'm trying to do, is not get overwhelmed with the news. I've had just about as much encouragement as I can get from the local news and global news. So by local, I mean U.S. Let's see here. Okay, so now I need to look around and say, what do I need to do next? Where do I need to go next? And make some decisions. Oh, good, Carla. So glad to hear that. She says she's drawing more and loving it over on Facebook. That is great. Yeah, there's plenty of time to do that, right? For many of us. Although you work from home anyway most of the time. Let's see here. Peggy, I hope you're still teaching. Maybe remotely now. But I think there's some great opportunities now for those of us that are art teachers to do it online, and it's a fun thing to do. Okay, let me see here. I got to look at this reference. You know what? I think what we'll do. This seems a little bright over here as well. I could knock that back just a little bit while I'm thinking about it. Although maybe with this brown ochre 10%. We'll do that real quick. And then I think we're going to move on to the hair. Just start working on that hair a little bit. Let's see what that looks like. Or I could fix the ears. Sometimes that's part of the fun, is figuring out where should I go next, you know. You know what? I don't know. I think what we'll do is we'll work on the hair a little bit. Yeah, I hear you, Peggy. I feel bad for people that don't have quiet hobbies that they enjoy as well, things that they're able to do while they're in isolation. For many of us, nothing's changed. Not a whole lot has changed, I'll put it that way. Every time I walk out of my studio, though, let me grab this pencil. Every time I walk out of my studio, though, my daughters are there, and they're like, "Hey, Dad, let's do this," or "Can you do this?" And like, "Oh yeah, they're home, aren't they?" But yeah, it's an interesting thing. So Sergi Man is asking here. So far as I can tell, this is mostly colored pencil with a little bit of powder blender. Have you incorporated the workable fixative as well? Yes, I did use workable fixative. Yes, and powder blender. Did I use powder blender? I think I did. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think I did. I think I did use powder blender, maybe just a little bit. I honestly don't remember at the moment. Yes, no, I did. I did use it. Okay. Trying to figure out what my colors are going to be with regard to the hair. You know, when you look at this, if you can see this reference, now this one's quite a bit bigger than what we're working on. Oh yeah, still got to do the glasses too, but there's still time. But if you look at the hair, you know, we're talking about something that is very close in color to the skin. So obviously the abstract shapes of the hair and some of the block forms and that kind of thing are going to be different. But we're actually talking about a lot of the same colors. And what I do see, you know, a lot of times someone just starting out with colored pencil in particular, but any medium really, will say, well, how do you get this really bright highlight over here? And how do you get this to look so bright when you start working on hair or anything? And the answer to that is it's all about the contrast. And so you're not going to be able to make anything look bright unless you've got things behind it that are darker in value. So I want to look at large forms. I want to look at large shapes, and certainly the bow. I've got to get that bow in there. But I've got to look at what the hair is doing, the movement of the hair, look at the block shapes of the hair, and then I want to also think about the differences then in the color. And I actually see a little more green in the hair than I do in the skin. So there's a lot of ochre in the hair. There's red, and there is green in the hair. In contrast to the skin, I'll put it that way, because that's our baseline comparison for the hue. Ah. So Sergi, man, that's interesting. Saying that he's ordered all of the fine art drawing papers with similar qualities to Stonehenge. Did you order those individually, separately, or was this something like? I know Stonehenge makes a set of small sample papers, and I didn't know if maybe you ordered that set that they sell out there on Amazon. They probably sell it on their own site as well, of similar, or not similar, but of different papers that they sell, that they manufacture or they distribute. But that's interesting. I'd love to know what those are. Maybe you can list a few of them in here. If you've got them already, that'd be really cool to see what your thoughts are on some of those. Okay. So, so I'm going to use, start out with here, I'm going to use this sepia red in Lightfast. So one of the things I'm looking at here is this biggest shadow, which I did incorporate right in here a little bit. Ah, okay. Okay. So Sergi Man says he didn't order these from Legion, which is the company that makes Stonehenge paper. So he ordered them from other manufacturers, and yeah, that'd be cool to let us know what your takeaways are. That'd be awesome. Okay, there's that one right there, and we're cutting off that hair at some point. It's probably going to be right there. Over here. That goes up this way. This is darker right in there. I already roughed in some of this pretty early on, right? It actually comes in here like this. I'm going to have to, because I've got more of the ear showing over there. I'm probably going to have to take a look at the original reference again, just a little bit more, maybe print it out. Because I'm showing more on the sides of the face, certainly on the left side, than I am in the references that I'm looking at currently. So I've got to take a look at that. Yeah, so Sergi Man's talking about the Canson edition, 100% cotton print and engraved engraving paper. Says that it's spot on, similar to Stonehenge. Yeah, that is one. I've got some of that as well, and I do like that one, actually. Canson makes some really, really good papers, though. Okay, this all needs to be darker right in there. I just don't want to lose where some of that hair is, the way that it's angled right in there. I want to make sure that I keep that. This comes down here and encroaches on this area right in here. This comes in quite a bit. Oh, so David's asking over on YouTube Live how much of this was completed prior to broadcasting. So none of it. I mean, if you go back to the early live streams of this drawing, I started on the live stream. Everything I've done has been on the live stream. So you can go back and take a look at that when I started out. And I've tried to name it the same each week if I remember correctly. I think I've done that. So you could find it pretty easily, I think. That needs to come up there. Okay, this is all going this direction. Need a little more tone right in here. We got some shadows in here. I'll put in there at a later time. So Sergio, man, you're saying that you have an Arches paper that's a runner-up to the Canson, I'm guessing. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So, David, yeah, I started it a long time ago. I'd have to go back and look. I don't even remember. It's been probably a few months, I guess, something like that. It's been a long time that I've been working on this. Monday mornings, 10 o'clock. And if you're on YouTube Live, YouTube API messed up on me a couple times. So if you go to the Facebook stream, I think I've loaded everything though over there on YouTube as well. But sometimes the API between Restream.io, which is the software that I'm using in conjunction with OBS to distribute to multiple channels at one time, it messed up a few times, and the API did from YouTube. They changed it, and so Restream had to reconfigure some things. Right here we go. Well, that's good information, Sergio, man. If anybody's looking at what he's talking about, that's interesting. Okay, now let's see. I think what I'll do is use this brush, move that around just a little bit, and I'm thinking about the direction of the hair as I'm doing this loosely. You know, you don't have to get fixated on it, and because this is some of the initial layers. I am taking notes. LOL, LOL. David says, okay. So this will help to, with this brush, to blend this together. A little bit. And I won't lose the pigment either, you know, if I do this. And I could use soft tools. And I've already got something down on this paper, so I can use the soft tools, and I've sprayed this paper. So I can use the soft tools, and it's not going to tear it up. It's not going to tear up my sponge on the bottom. I don't recommend using soft tools right away after you've barely put anything down. It probably looks like I've barely put anything down because you can still see the support underneath. But that's because I sprayed it due to needing more layers on the face. But what happens up here is it creates that barrier and makes it to where I can use the soft tool, and it's not just rubbing up against the 400 grit level of the paper, which can just tear up your sponge on your soft tools. So just something to keep in mind. Okay. Yeah, those ears are bothering me. I got to fix those before too long. Okay. That gives us a good undercoat here, and something to work on top. Good underpainting that we can start building on. And let's see. So when I'm looking up here, I think you can see this on the camera a little bit, but right up in here, that color is very close to it's very close to the skin color, and this is some of those shadows. You know, if we isolated that, if I looked at this little area right here and I looked at the skin color down here, there wouldn't be a whole lot of difference, I don't think. And so So I need to shift that back in a direction to look closer to the skin color. And what do you think I'm going to use for that? Probably this burnt ochre, 10%. And the nice thing about rendering any of this on sanded paper, something that I've got a lot of flexibility on, is, and I don't recommend this all the time, but I can test right on the project. You don't have to, it's really not something that I do recommend, testing on the project, but you can do it. And if things aren't working out the way you want, then you can change it and lean it back in a different direction. So that's the cool thing about it. So I'm trying not to draw individual strands, but blocks of hair. I don't want to think about individual strands. There's some coming down like this, but they're going to go over the glasses just a little tiny bit. Okay, right in here, I'll have to get a little more pigment. Right in here, over in here. But now that we've got that red in there, a little bit of that red color, then some of these other colors that are getting closer to ochre, I think will give us a nice base to begin with, and then we can define it more. See, right up in here it gets confusing. It's like, see a little bit of the scalp, and then we're also seeing some of that hair right in there. It's so Sergi Man's asking over on YouTube, would you say that you're satisfied with the current range of good quality pencils that you've got to choose from? Talking about Lightfast properties, the feel of the pencil itself, and the color range. Yeah, so the go-tos now for me are Derwent Lightfast and Caran d'Ache Luminance and Polychromos by Faber-Castell. And maybe even in that order, though I'm not positive about that. I mean, it depends on the project that I'm working on to a large degree. But I don't find myself using the Polychromos as often for like some of the final details in a lot of things that I'm working on. I think they're really good on... Yeah, that needs more red in it down here. I think that the Polychromos pencils are really well suited for using on sanded paper. Very good for that. This is bothering me. I don't know why. I just want to fill that in just a little bit. There we go. But the Lightfast pencils, I love the performance of them. They're, they're just they're a great pencil. And early on, I was just not fully convinced. Had to use them for a while. I don't make just snap judgments usually on pencils. I work with them a while, and paper. I mean, it's the same thing. I don't just decide right away, oh, this is going to be the best thing ever. I work with them a while and form my opinions a little slower, probably, than some, which I'm okay with that. But the more I use the Lightfast pencils, the more I enjoy them. I mean, they're a great pencil. There's so many things you can do with them, like use water with with them when you're rendering on sanded paper or pastel mat, which I think is a great thing to do, and something that not a lot of people talk about for whatever reason, but it's something you can do with colored pencil, is use water in the rendering process and breaking down the pigment. And I'm not sure why there's not a lot of discussion about it or anything, but it works really well. Nice underpainting that you can achieve with that is just something that you're not going to get with solvent. It's a different look and feel than what you get with solvent. So, okay. Yeah, some of these flyaway hairs that you see from time to time, I'm not going to worry about those at the moment. We'll worry about those later on, more in the final rendering is when we'll start depicting those. The other benefit to sanded paper, if one of the properties of it, that if it's something that's new to you, is the ability to use a dull pencil. You don't always want to use a dull pencil, but it's something that works well on sanded paper, and does not work as well on, in fact, I don't even recommend it on a cotton paper to use a dull pencil. Yeah, we will have to print out a larger version of the reference so I can see everything better. One of the other properties of sanded paper is being able to go light over dark. It's another nice advantage to working on sanded paper. No, you're right, Sergi, man. Using water on cotton paper just does not work very well. On sanded paper, it works great, and on pastel mat. So anything that is a non-absorbent surface, yes, it works really well. But you're right. If you try doing that same technique on cotton paper, I don't think you're going to be as happy with that. In fact, in my testing, it didn't work very well. That needs to come down a lot over here, but I've got to figure out where that is exactly. I don't know at the moment. Okay. So right in here where we've got, so we need more contrast up in here, and then what we'll do is we'll have that scalp showing through just a little bit. That's those are opportunities to capture more personality and more uniqueness in the portrait subject, to be able to show differences in, how the hair looks, where the hair's parted, and that kind of thing. So I don't want to leave that out. And if I try to depict hair and not make it look like the individual, then and I revert to a cookie cutter kind of recipe for hair, then it can bring down the entire portrait, right? If I don't look at those small details. So I think it's important Okay. This is a hard part for me, is looking at something that is abstract like this and thinking about it as an entire abstract, cohesive piece of something else, rather than, because what I want to do is just look at the details, you know, and I have to force myself not to do that. I have to force myself to look beyond the details and think of everything as abstract shapes first, and then look at details last. Look at them later. Okay. Hair is not always, you know, it's depending on the day. Hair can look very, very different. And we're going to include some of that hair right across the forehead. I'm just not going to do it at this moment, but we will do that a little later on. And I see we went a little dark in certain areas on the eyes, and we're going to push that back in a different direction as well. We still have the mouth again to look at. Yeah, there's just every time I think I'm getting close to being done, I start seeing a lot of things and like, wow, yeah, there's just a lot. There's a lot to do. We're not done. We're not as close as what I even thought when I start stepping back and looking at it more. Like, wow, we've got a lot to go. So I may need to work on this. Oh, you do? So Sergi Man's saying he enjoys drawing hair. And you're asking me to describe my hair drawing experience. I have to be honest, I don't like it. I don't like drawing hair. I like the final touches on the hair. I like looking at the tiny portions of it, flyaway hairs and things like that. All the glitter, right, on the hair after it's nearly all done. That's the parts that I like. But, you know, unfortunately, if you don't get the other stuff right, if you know, right in quotes, if you don't get it at least looking representational, it can bring the whole drawing down. So, yeah, so David's saying the same thing. He doesn't like doing the hair. Yeah, but it's necessary. It's necessary to do it well, right? So, and to think about it and to really focus on it instead of just rushing through it. Okay. All right. So she looks like she has a little bit of hair now. We've got to do something though with where this encroaches the forehead, and make sure that looks realistic. And then I also need to probably we'll do this next time. Probably remeasure some of these things. You know, I've got two different references I'm looking at, none of which are scaled to what I'm drawing. So that often happens. That's okay. But what I need to do is look at some relative measurements. And you can use your pencil to do that. You can look at things and, you know, kind of triangulate what you're looking at and then compare that to your drawing, just to make sure after, you know, you've roughed in some areas, then you want to go back and just kind of make sure that everything's looking accurate. Because I really think the shadow needs to go down just a little bit, but the hairline needs to come down just a little bit more. And then we got to get those glasses in there as well. But yeah. Then we got to focus on the mouth and render out some of this other stuff. Like the shirt, that shouldn't take very long. and the neck. Shouldn't take very long either. It's really dark at the moment. It's going to be brighter later on, so that's going to be something that we probably tackle next time when we start again on Monday. So, all right. Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for joining. Really appreciate it. And if you didn't know, we're doing a shelter-in-place color pencil drawing, and that starts at 5 o'clock tonight. So if you can join at 5 o'clock, that would be awesome. And that's a different drawing. We're drawing the eyes on a male. We're actually really close to being done. We'll be done tonight. And but that's really exciting. I can show you a sample here of the face of the male that we're drawing. Hopefully you can see that. And if you're interested in drawing along with me on this one, the reference is over there on my website. If you go to sharpenedartist.com and you click on resources, go down to live streams, and there is a downloadable option there to grab the reference photo, and then join me back here at 5 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. So I'm not sure what that is, UTC. You'll have to kind of look that up to figure out. You can go to timeconverter.com, I think, and you can figure out what the time conversion is for where you live and what time zone you're on. But that's it for today. Thanks so much for joining. Really appreciate it. We will get done with this one, believe it or not. And I will see you back here at 5 o'clock. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Stay safe.